I'm going to walk down my opponent's case and then impact his drop of my case. The only thing I hate more than a definition debate is having to respond to a straw man argument against my own definition. First, my only mention of PETA was that they are the sponsors of this debate. They are the framers. I looked at their literature to obtain a definition and nothing more. No dictionary has a definition of the phrase testing that requires the use of animals, and there is nothing unfactual about the description of required testing given on PETA.org. Furthermore, I specifically avoided tying my case to PETA by only citing scientific studies and expert testimony, not politically engendered sites in all other warrants, by making arguments related to the practices of animal testing, not the emotional or moral conditions surrounding it. This brings me to the topicality and discourse framework. My opponent falsely accused me of misrepresenting the definition as refuted above. He then purposefully misrepresents the resolution by leaving out the word requires in his own T-block. Requires is a verb modifying the subject all testing. By including the word requires, the framer's intent was clear. Ban required testing and not all-inclusive forms of testing. For the standard literature, once the word requires is properly introduced into the discourse, the meaning becomes clear. The pro properly framed the debate. PETA strat. Look to my contentions. No mention of PETA anywhere. Judge, he's committed a straw man fallacy by claiming that I have done something that I haven't, and then tying all of his offenses to this claim of a PETA strat. His only link at 210 in his speech is that PETA's numbers are flawed, but I never used PETA's numbers. Don't buy the lie. None of his impacts on confirmation bias or PETA impacts flow through. Dump them all. The fallacy. Guilt by association. The op then runs an eloquent if misguided biopower critique. The problem is twofold. He tries to link my case to PETA. At 236 in his speech, he states that PETA proposes embryo testing, and that embryo testing leads to government power. Nowhere in my case did I propose using embryo testing. Nowhere in my case did I enjoin a PETA strat. The link simply isn't there. The rest of his entire case analysis rests on a fallacy of guilt by association. The guilt by association fallacy involves tying two positions together merely by associating the source with both. My opponent commits this fallacy in his response. He tried to link my case to biopower by citing Helen Marston's reference to microdosing. Helen Marston is used in my case to list examples of alternatives, but microdosing was not listed in the case. My case specifically deals with many alternatives: microfluidic chips, genome mapping, and specifically computer models. Neither embryonic testing nor human microdosing are going to become the norm, as they are two of the many testing processes that exist. Especially if these two have such destructive impacts, society would demand change, just as they are demanding a shift from animal testing now. Don't ignore the impact of drops. He dropped my contention 1, where I established that animal-based testing is the least desirable form according to every standard and the law itself. His only response to my contention 2 was to claim that my own author agreed with his case. Only one problem: she never said that. If you read the article, a transcript of a debate, he cited Laurie Pycroft. Helen Marston does not endorse animal testing. However, the rest of my contention 2 cites multiple scientific sources, including Robinson 2006, that in silico models work and are effective. He dropped my contention 3, where I proved that animal testing through its inaccuracies leads to human death. This went cold conceded. In the end, my impacts of human death outweigh his lack of impacts that he never reaches because of the guilt by association fallacy. He dropped my burden. Therefore, he accepts that he must prove that alternatives to animal testing are less effective or less desirable than in vivo live testing of animals. He has not done this. Judge, on these points, the lack of any link to my case to any neg position, resulting in no impacts on his side, and the death that would result from my case, which he drops, and any lack of any op offense, I see no choice but to go pro. Thank you.